This has been a horribly violent day in Ukraine, one that's seen a disturbing escalation in the crisis between Russia and its neighbor. The major flashpoint was the port city of Odesa, where there were running street battles and a fire that's left more than 30 people dead. The CBC's Keith Bogue is following developments from Washington. Keith?
A little more than 3 weeks from now, there are supposed to be elections in Ukraine, Wendy, but that gets harder to imagine as parts of the country descend deeper into chaos. Fire in the eastern port city of Odesa at the trade union's house. There are reports it was deliberately set by pro-Kiev demonstrators after pro-Russians barricaded themselves inside. Dozens of people died in the flames or from leaping out the windows of the burning buildings. Odesa is the third largest city in Ukraine. Smaller towns and villages in the east are said to be under complete control of pro-Russian militants. In Donetsk this week, Ukrainian riot police tried to corral some pro-Russian protesters and instead found themselves chased off, even stripped of some of their gear. 2 Ukrainian helicopters were apparently shot down today, shot down with rocket-propelled grenades. In Washington, U.S. President Barack Obama said the weapons themselves make it clear that Russia is behind what's happening.
Well-organized, trained, armed militias with the capacity to shoot down helicopters. Generally, local protesters don't possess that capacity of surface-to-air missiles or whatever weapons were used to shoot down helicopters, tragically.
And don't believe Russian denials, he said. We've heard them before.
A few weeks ago, Mr. Putin was still denying that the Russian military was even involved in Crimea. Then a few weeks later, he acknowledged, yeah, I guess that was our guys.
Prime Minister Stephen Harper also pointed the finger at Putin.
The Putin regime's persistent military aggression and its ongoing illegal occupation of Crimea and other parts of Ukraine threaten the stability and security of Central and Eastern Europe.
And with that, he dispatched 50 troops to take part in military exercises in Poland. That's a reassurance mission to buck up NATO allies in Europe who are getting unnerved by what they see happening with Russia and Ukraine. But real military action is not in the cards. As Obama repeated today, the aim has been to force Russia to seek a diplomatic solution in the face of political and economic sanctions. And if things don't calm down in Ukraine in the days before the May 25th elections,
we will not have a choice but to move forward with additional, more severe sanctions.
there are plenty of knowledgeable people who say that tactic, sanctions, is biting Russia hard. Probably it is. But what sanctions haven't been able to do so far is make a difference. Wendy?
Thanks so much, Keith. Keith Bogue in Washington tonight. In the midst of the rising violence, several Western news crews were detained by pro-Russian forces today. At least one journalist was beaten. It happened at a checkpoint heading into Sloviansk. The journalists were bound and blindfolded. CBS reporter Calissa Ward was one of them.
One of our crew was beaten. The whole experience definitely leaving everyone, thankfully in good health, but a little shaken up.
Their translator overheard the militants discussing holding them for ransom before they were released.